Assalamu alaikum and peace. This is Imam Malik Mujahid, and you're watching Muslim Network TV on Galaxy 19 satellite, which covers whole USA, east, west, north, south, and also on Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, and Apple TV, and or on website muslimnetwork.tv. Elections are over. Well, almost it seems like they're over. Conservative media, Fox and Wall Street Journal, they have given 290 over 214 lead to Biden, while liberal media like CNN is given 279 lead. And you're all aware of that. It has been for a few days now. Biden and Democrats are celebrating it, while the president is pursuing the legal action. What are the viabilities of that? And the First Lady is tweeting, like to count all the legal ballots, not the illegal ones. What are the illegal ballots here? And why these illegal ballots probably are responsible for giving Republicans the more control of the Senate and good news in House, and how come it's a bad news for Democrats? Are they talking two different ballots? And how come the Democratic fraud in election was not smart enough to manufacture victory in Senate? Then there was a talk of blue wave. I thought somebody was talking about it. Instead, we got red waves. So what is going on here? And I have a couple of guests, smart people, to discuss that with me. Edward Ahmed Mitchell, welcome to Muslim Network TV. He is Deputy Director of the Council of American-Islamic Relations. And Dr. Sohail Mahmood, who is independent political analyst. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Welcome to Muslim Network TV. He's independent political analyst based in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Well, how are you doing this morning?
All right, fine. Alhamdulillah.
So is it getting a lot of your time looking around what is happening politically in our country?
Yeah, of course. You bet.
Is there a lot of discussion in North Carolina about the fraud in election because there Trump is winning? Are they still talking illegal vote and legal votes there?
Well, it depends where you are in North Carolina, in Charlotte, in Raleigh. I mean, Biden won, and I've attended a few parades. So, I've seen the enthusiasm and outpouring of joy. But you're right. I mean, in North Carolina, Trump is winning, and the decision will be made later on this week. It will take some time.
Okay.
The Republicans are going to win North Carolina.
Okay.
It seems so.
Okay.
But that doesn't make any difference. Biden has already won the Electoral College. You just said 279, and he's the president-elect of the USA. Whether or not, Trump wins North Carolina doesn't make any difference now. It's too late.
Well, Edward, you are in Georgia, and Georgia has surprised a whole lot of people. What happened in Georgia?
So, I think what happened is that we had first of all, assalamu alaikum, everyone, and a pleasure to be with you. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulullah. So what happened in Georgia can really be traced back to 2018. In 2018, we had a very competitive governor's race between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp. And there were many, I think, legitimate allegations of voter suppression in relation to that election. Hundreds of thousands of people have been kicked off of the voting rolls by Secretary of State Brian Kemp, and Stacey Abrams barely lost that election. And in the 2 years after that, Stacey Abrams and other voting rights activists really dedicated their sole focus to registering voters in the state of Georgia, to getting thousands and thousands of new voters registered, including many young people and people of color. And I think what we saw in the election results was the result of that. We saw those new voters coming out to vote. We saw that happening in record numbers, and that, I believe, led to this incredible upset with Joe Biden appearing to have narrowly beat President Trump by 10,000 votes in Georgia. So I think the explanation for this is not only all the issues with President Trump, but also the fact that the community here put so much effort into registering voters over the past 2 years.
Well, now the question I pose to both of you, do you think, Biden in his victory speech talk about bringing people together? Now, most politicians will say that after an election, but country is really substantially divided. Yes, he got 5 million, probably 5 million more vote than Trump, but Trump also got historically high vote. Nobody ever had as many votes as Biden and Trump, and that is because of divisiveness in the country and all of that. Do you think there is any possibility of him bringing people together?
Well, I think what's unique about Joe Biden, there are a few things. So number one, there's nothing really controversial about him as a person. Or in terms of his politics. He's relatively moderate. He's been around for over 40 years. The Republicans don't seem to have a particular disdain for him the way they had for Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that because he's been around for so long, he has pretty good personal relationships with Republicans on Capitol Hill, especially Mitch McConnell and some other Republican senators. So that would seem to create the possibility that he could have a better working relationship with them. And the third thing, of course, obviously, is that Joe Biden is an older white man, and so he's not going to have to deal with the racism that motivated so much of the hostility towards President Obama, and he's not going to have to deal with so much of the sexism that motivated hostility towards Hillary Clinton, and he's not going to have to deal with the anti-Semitism that would have motivated hostility to, for example, Bernie Sanders. So he's going to not necessarily have to deal with a lot of the drama that other presidents and presidential candidates would have experienced. But having said that, I'm not convinced he'll be able to bring people completely together, especially given that millions of people may end up believing President Trump's claim that this election was stolen from him. If they don't think the result was legitimate, then it's going to be very hard for President Biden to form ties with them. But again, a lot of that may be outside of his control. He can only try.
So, Dr. Sohail Mahmood, do you think Biden, while have relationship, being a centrist and being around and friendship across the aisle and all that, but what about the stuff between centrist Democrat and progressive Democrats? So there seems to be some news already out there. Some people blaming the progressives and progressive responding that you didn't lose election because of us, because we won. You lost it because you were not supportive of these things. So do you think he will be able to keep whatever strength he has gained at this moment?
Okay, before I get into that, let me please, if I may, the present situation in the Senate is that the Democrats have 48 and the Republicans have 48. There are 4 seats, that have to be decided. There is a runoff in Georgia on 2 seats, on January 5. So, like my friend pointed out, Georgia, the Democrats are already 10,000 lead, so they might get Georgia, and they are going to work very hard to get those 2 Senate seats. If that happens, then the Democrat will be 50, and with the 50, they have a majority in the Senate because the vice president, of the USA has the legal power for a tie. If there's a tie between the Democrats and the Republicans, 50-50, then Hillary and then Kamala Harris, inshallah, will cast her vote and the Democrats will get a majority. So I just wanted to correct that. There is a chance that the Democrats can have a majority in the Senate as well. Okay, having said that. Now, I don't want to get into that because, the Democrats are at, they are in the celebration mode, mode, and there's a spontaneous outpouring of joy. It was a roller coaster as far as the election is concerned. Remember, this is the sixth day, and it took 5 days for the election results to come in, and the Republicans were winning in the beginning because the Democrats, majority of them were mail-in votes, while majority of the Republicans were polling on election day on November 3rd. Well, anyway, it was a roller coaster, and there was a lot of concern in
it
first
becomes
day.
a very important question that it is only 6 days, but already progressives and centrists are
Yes.
Democratic Party are publicly.
Yes, that is. I acknowledge that.
So do you think
that has started, and
Edward,
that is a very big challenge for Joe Biden, President-elect Joe Biden.
there is going to be a possibility that the alliance which came together, progressive, unlike the Hillary's time, were more cooperative, and seems like centrists try to accommodate them. But when this cabinet positions and making difficult decisions, what do you think? Do you think, in view of Republican gains in the Congress, they will be able to still work with each other, or it will be an open field?
Yes, I think they will be able to. Oh, you're asking me?
I'm asking Edward.
Okay, sure.
So I think that President Biden, if that indeed comes to pass, is probably going to try his best to balance out his cabinet, throw a bone to everyone, so to speak. I think his inclination is to have a cabinet that is led and steered by people who share his somewhat moderate views on domestic and international issues. But I think he knows that he's going to have to satisfy the more progressive wing of the party. So I suspect you might see a few cabinet positions occupied by prominent or respected, quote unquote, progressive voices, while other positions that are very critical are occupied by people that are more satisfactory to the moderate side of the aisle. I don't think he's going to make everyone happy. I suspect the moderates will be happier than the progressives, if only because the Senate will be so narrowly divided that even if you wanted to, for example, appoint, let's say, Bernie Sanders as the labor secretary, what are the chances that Bernie Sanders can get through a Senate vote, or Elizabeth Warren as Treasury Secretary? What are the chances they can get through a Senate vote? The only way would be if you either have the Democrats win control of the Senate through these elections in Georgia and then have Kamala Harris break a tie, or you get some Republicans to approve them because the Republicans know that if Bernie Sanders leaves office, or if Elizabeth Warren leaves office, their states have Republican governors who could then appoint Republicans or Republican-friendly replacements. So long story short, there are scenarios in which I think Joe Biden would appoint progressives. I think he will appoint a few, not that many. And I think the makeup of the Senate will really be the ultimate determinant of what that cabinet ends up looking like.
When is the elections going to be runoff elections in Georgia?
January 5th.
Wow, not very far away. So it seems all the money and all the fight is moving to Georgia.
Yes. For those in Georgia who are tired of political campaign ads, we're going to have to live with them for a bit longer, inshallah.
All right. So McConnell is a king for just a month and a half, it seems like, if the Georgia elections are that quickly out there. Well, what are the things Biden can do without, suppose he loses, he doesn't have the control of the Senate. But as a president, what are the things can he still do?
Was that for me or Dr.
Well, anyone of you can pick up.
Go ahead, Dr. Mahmood. I'll go after you, inshallah.
Okay. Well, that's not the first time. That has happened many times before. Remember, in the Obama administration, President Obama, the Senate was with the Republicans. So this is very common in the USA that there's a divided government. I mean, one party has the White House and the other party has control over the Congress. I mean, at least this time the Democrats will retain control of the House, and they might be defeated. I mean, you're right. I mean, since there's a question of 4 seats, I mean, they might be defeated in the Senate. But even then, if there is anyone who can reach out and has the temperament and has the skills and has the connections and knows the Senate, it is Joe Biden. Remember, Joe Biden has a career in the Senate. I mean, he has a career for about 50 years, and he was the Senate Foreign Relations Committee chairman. So he has a lot of contacts. He has a lot of friends in the Senate. He's a very nice person, and he can do business. He can do business with even Lindsey Graham, and he can do business with Mitch McConnell, because he has a lot of experience. He spent a lifetime in the Senate, So that is a challenge. I mean, but that is a challenge that Obama faced also. I mean, in his 8 years
President
but
Obama
he will
has
be able to overcome it.
President Obama, so you're on the hopeful side. That's very good. But Republicans have to keep their constituencies happy as well. They got 70 million votes as well. So this is going to be, President Obama has the full Congress, Senate, and House with him initially. Later on, he lost that. Now, President-elect Biden has appointed a pandemic task force of 13 health experts and 3 chairs, so altogether 16. And it does not include any Muslim physicians, while 10% of all physicians saving lives in America are Muslims. It does include one gentleman from Indian heritage, Atal Gawande. So it seems like Muslim may still struggle in being elected or appointed to different positions. So Edward, what do you think are the prospects of Muslims? Or anyone of you, Dr. Sohail Mahmood or Edward Mitchell, are applying for the any positions which are available? President get to appoint 9,000 people. Are there going to be Muslim will be counted as equal citizens if they qualify?
Well, Joe Biden has said privately and publicly that he will include Muslim Americans at every level of his administration. And that was his language, every level. So if you take that literally, that means the cabinet, that means staff positions, it means your lower positions. So, we'll see if that comes to pass. I think one of the demands of the Muslim community is definitely that Muslims be included. And again, it's important for Muslims to be included, not for the sake of token reasons, not just to have a seat at the table, but because so many of the decisions that the president of the United States makes impact the Muslim community here and abroad. And we want to make sure a Muslim perspective is involved in those conversations, contributes to those conversations, inshallah. And then, you'll see where the chips fall, but at least we want to make sure we're part of the conversation and hopefully influencing policy for the better. I think in terms of the coronavirus task force, I think that's a good point. There are not any Muslims on that, even though there are many Muslim doctors, medical professionals all around this country. An obvious prominent Muslim doctor is Abdul who has experience as both a politician and a doctor. So we hope that we will see him considered for a position. We will certainly keep encouraging the Biden administration, like we would with any administration, to include Muslim voices in those important positions. And if I can add briefly on the note of what could President Biden do without Congress. So many of the things that President Trump did that were destructive were not done through Congress, but through executive order, or they were foreign policy issues. So for example, President Trump has wide latitude to make immigration policy. So a lot of the things that he's done at the border, that he's done with the Muslim ban, for example, those can be instantly, quickly reversed and changed by President Biden without having to go through Congress. Obviously, the foreign policy things that President Trump has done, those can also be changed very quickly by President Biden without having to go through a Republican Senate. The main thing that would have to go through a Republican Senate that President Trump has done that could not be undone easily would be the tax cuts, would be changes to the healthcare law, Obamacare. All of that or comprehensive immigration reform, all of that would require congressional input. But President Trump did not have a lot of legislative success. It was more so simple policy decisions he made that could be pretty easily reversed by a President Biden.
You're watching Muslim Network TV. This is Imam Malik Mujahid. I'm talking with Dr. Sohail Mahmood and Edward Mitchell, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Adam. You remember me? I appeared in so many episodes that Sound Vision has put on the market. No matter what. Hey, what's happening? Hey, oh, sorry. Lockdown is what it is. Well, continuing here. In this lockdown, Sound Vision never stops thinking about you, the viewer. We'll have to get back into production again, online and inline. Everybody in their own space, even me. Although I'm stuck with Lanisa.
Salam! Salam! Salam!
I know, you were shocked too. Well, let me continue. This is what I was going to say. Salam! 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 Cut! 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 Finally, I get my own screen time again. Thank God. And so we invested in new equipment to bring you even better production with new songs and new singers and animations. Well, here are a few clips. And Sound Vision has brought all this into your home, making Islamic values and teachings easy. And if you know me, Adam, a multi-talented actor, well, sometimes I'm an actor and the reporter and the... Oh, that's enough. Let's move on to the next section. Well, you can watch these new episodes on our new app at www.adamsworldapp.com. We have previews happening every day on Muslim Network TV. Sound Vision has been serving generations, moving and changing with the times. We are all faithfully connected. That is a huge blessing. Your donation helps keep these programs available now and into the future. We take this job of helping tomorrow's Muslims today seriously, and you should too. Today, we need your help. Children absorb and learn from everything they encounter. Make that wholesome, positive, grounded in our faith. Together, we can accomplish our goal of raising better Muslims, better neighbors, and better citizens. Please donate generously.
It's an investment in our future.
To finish, let me tell you, there are new scripts of my new mission. And it is something that I enjoy talking about. My new mission is space. Houston, we do not have a problem. Salam, see you soon.
Me too.
Welcome back to Muslim Network TV. This is Imam Malik Mujahid, and you're watching Edward Mitchell and Dr. Sohail Mahmood talking about the new government. While Biden is trying to put his cabinet together and task forces, President Trump has not accepted that this is a final decision, and he's concerned about fraud and improper counting. And so what are the judicial routes available to President Trump, which might actually change the decision? Does anyone of you have any idea on this?
Dr. Mahmood, if you'd like to go first.
No, I mean, what will happen is that this is a process, and the losing candidate, has the right to seek a recount, and they are going to seek a recount in Georgia, and they wanted to seek a recount in Wisconsin, but they had to come up with $3 million for a recount, which they have not come up. So it's a process, and there will be some adjudication. There might be some irregularities, a few here and there, but it will be so minor, and the vote that is going to be subject to this scrutiny is going to be so minor that it will not affect at all. I mean, President-elect Biden will become the president on January 20th. There's nothing that Trump can do. As a matter of fact, some of his advisors are now cautioning him that he should be mentally prepared to accept Biden. I mean, George Bush, ex-president of the USA, he has congratulated Biden. His son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his wife, they are also going to talk to him. I mean, there are a few people like Lindsey Graham and, Ted Cruz, who are bent on, instigating this challenge. But on the other hand, there are Mitt Romney and the Alaskan, Senator Lisa. Both of them have acknowledged and they have congratulated Biden. So what I think is, this is my personal opinion, that this is more of a it's a face saving for Trump, because of his temperament, because of his, that he's a tough man. He's not going to he's not going to concede at all. But technically speaking, if he doesn't concede, doesn't make any difference. I mean, Biden will become president on January 20th, so he cannot do anything. And as far as the challenges are concerned, the fact of the matter is that most of these challenges are being thrown out by the courts. And there will be hundreds of challenges. But the challenges are, and the most important thing is that the lawsuits, I have gone through the lawsuits, which people like Gulani, who is a personal lawyer of Trump, they are going to bring to the courts. They are from today, The lawsuits do not say that there has been widespread cheating. All the lawsuits says is there have been a little bit of irregularities. That's all. It doesn't make any difference.
The best thing President Bush did was not only he congratulated Biden, but he congratulated Trump also for getting such a high number of votes.
Yes.
And highest in the nation.
Yes.
So he's trying to develop some leverage, it seems, there. Edward, we have history in what judiciary has decided elections. And so of course, courts will make decisions in this regard if there is any evidence of fraud, if the monitoring was allowed to Republican or not, and the legality of multiple variations in state laws, that how late the vote could be counted. Some states will be counting vote until today if they receive it by today. So what are the routes, do you think, judicial routes for the Republican team, other than not counting the political rhetoric in this regard?
So they're trying different things in different states. I almost want to call it a throw everything against the wall and see what sticks approach. So, for example, in Pennsylvania,
is that a legal approach? Sometimes
that is not, but you never know. Sometimes some things stick. So in Pennsylvania, for example, their main argument seems to be that some of the counting occurred. Two things: one, that some of the counting occurred without poll watchers being able to properly observe the counting. That's one argument. And the second argument seems to be that they're arguing that any votes that arrived after 8 p.m. on election day, that arrived in this 3-day grace period after the election, should not be counted. So that's in Pennsylvania. Now, the problem with that is that so far the first argument has been proven largely false. A judge almost mocked the Trump campaign attorneys when they raised this argument, because the Trump poll watchers have been in the room. They have been monitoring, as far as we all know, and they were allowed to get a little closer, within 6 feet, at the order of a judge. But in any case, that doesn't change anything, right? It's just a question of how close you get to be when they're counting the votes, but the votes were counted accurately. And then as for the other issue, the second issue, that also we don't think is going to go anywhere. Number one, because the number of votes that have come in after the 3 days, that was allowed by the Supreme Court initially, so it would be strange for them to reverse course. But even if they do, those aren't enough votes to change the outcome of the election. Those aren't enough votes to take away Biden's lead, it appears. In Michigan, they've been arguing something similar, issues with access. In Nevada, they're arguing that there are some people who have dual residence in Nevada and California, maybe 3,000 people, they say, and that they shouldn't be able to vote. Nevada law apparently allows them to vote, and in any case, 3,000 people is not enough to change the results. And then in Arizona, they seem to not be sure what they want to argue there. The votes are still being counted. It's a Republican-controlled state, and so I don't even know what they're going to be arguing there. And then Wisconsin, they want to do a recount, which is fine, but there's no evidence that a recount will change the result. And same thing in Georgia. Again, no evidence that a recount would change the result unless they are able to get ballots thrown out. That is, have their poll watchers observe ballots and get enough thrown out based on signature mismatch or some other technicality. That may be what they're hoping for. And the last thing I'll say about them, and then I'll wrap up, is that I think their goal here is to, again, to discredit Biden's victory, that they may understand that he has won, he's going to be inaugurated, but they want to kick up enough dust, enough smoke that at least President Trump's supporters will not consider him a legitimately elected president. And I think their best case scenario would be to win some sort of huge victory in at least one state, again, then to cast doubt on the ultimate result. I think that's the end game here, but I don't see any evidence they're going to actually change the result of this election.
Dr. Mahmood, the president talked about in one of his rallies, what am I going to do? Am I going to leave the country? And why that thought occurred to him? What do you think is going on in his mind? Is it because of all the lawsuits and everything which he has immunity to against while he's president, or just his department on his side? So what will he be doing after he's no longer president?
Well, to give the devil his due, Trump achieved something remarkable, remember, he got more votes than he got last time, in 2016. Mm-hmm. He has about 70 million votes. And, and the most important thing is that the Republican Party is totally under his shadow now, there is under his influence, control, what have you, this is remarkable. Remarkable that many Republicans who are inclined to accept the Biden victory, the Democrat victory, are not speaking up. I mean, there are very few people that are openly congratulating Biden, because they are very concerned about the wrath and because of the anger that Trump can have towards them. And, I agree with my friend. Trump is not going to concede, and he's going to keep on harping that this election has been stolen, although there is no evidence, and he cannot stop Biden from becoming president. I'm repeating myself, but that the plan is that Trump is going to be in the position of a kingmaker in the future. There's no doubt about that. The Republican Party has gone under the shadow of Trump, which is remarkable. It was a very powerful party which had its good presidents and has contributed a lot to the growth of democracy in America, and was the alternate to the Democrats. But now what seems to have happened is that this is completely controlled by Trump. So he has a role as a kingmaker. That is his political role. But on the other hand, he is going to face a number of lawsuits that are already, just in the pipeline. Remember, he paid only $750 as income tax, and there is a IRS demand to open up his accounts, and there is a federal district attorney which is going to ask for his tax records to be straightened out, because he claims to be a billionaire, and he is a billionaire, and he doesn't pay any taxes. $750 is nothing. I mean,
Well, he said that
would pay 10 times more in taxes.
he said
That's
he-
one thing.
he's
And
smart.
there are other lawsuits against Trump University, against personal lawsuits. I mean, he is going to be in big trouble. He is going to be in very deep legal trouble because of his business, and because of his conduct, and because of his sexual exploitation. Well, I mean, that is going to happen. He's not going to leave the country. I mean, he has a political standing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He has a political standing in there.
Let me ask you, Brother Edward, that why, not only he increased his votes substantially, the two groups he has majority, of course, are white male and white women, by and large. But how come he was able to double his vote among blacks and Muslims? Not as much in Latinos, but substantially high in Latinos also. But he doubled his vote among Muslims and blacks, if, of course, the exit polls are correct. And I'm seeing, that debates and discussion on social media I've seen among Muslims. So what is Trump's appeal to blacks, and what is Trump appeals to Muslims, where he has been able to build up his support?
Well, look, I'll just say from an analytical perspective, a few things. So number one, it is true that President Trump apparently increased his vote share among Muslims, among African Americans. And in particular, CAIR's exit poll showed that about 17% of respondents, Muslim respondents, said they voted for President Trump. Another 11% said they didn't want to say who they voted for, which leads us to think they probably voted for President Trump. And then 69% indicated they voted for Vice President Biden. That was our
69%, if you say it for Biden. That's pretty close to what Associated Press is also saying in their exit poll, that so it is that 30% voted for Trump. So it is close by.
Right. The numbers are close. So CAIR's exit poll, again, had 69% support for Biden, 17% for Trump, 11% we don't want to say. If you add that 11% to the 17%, then you get to 28%, which is close to the AP poll. And also I'll note that ISPU, the Institute for Social Policy and Understanding, did a poll earlier this year that also showed noticeable support for President Trump. Now, why? The ISPU poll indicated that the economy was the main reason given among Muslims who supported President Trump. I suspect that another issue could be social issues, for example, abortion or other issues that Muslims have may have more conservative views on, could have also played a role. But the economy, I think, was the most often given reason for Muslim support for President Trump. And then in the Black community, I'll just say I'm not sure I have a good answer. I'll say that the President Trump's team did apparently make a concerted effort to try to target Black men in particular. For some reason, you saw they had some success with prominent African-American male celebrities, but I think many of those celebrities were not taken seriously in the broader Black community. At the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of African-Americans ended up voting for Vice President Biden. So President Trump did make some inroads, but obviously not significant enough to change the result of this election. And the last thing I'll note is that you're correct. President Trump did get 71 million votes. That's more votes than President Obama received in 2008, and it's far more votes than President Trump received in 2016. So that tells you the support for him is not fleeting. It wasn't a fluke. There is a significant, massive number of people in this country who either tolerate or support President Trump's ideology, which could persist long past his presidency. And it's something that I think our country will have to grapple with for some time to come.
Well, thank you so much for those insights. You're watching Muslim Network TV on Galaxy 19 satellite and many other places, and we'll be right back after these messages.
My wife, who she's a professor at the University of Cincinnati, who's Catholic, and by her watching and listening to our 3-year-old son watch Adam's World, she ended up taking Kalima Shahada. She embraced Islam because she learned so much about Islam and the other prophets. It really affected our life in a great way, and because of Sound Vision and Adam's World, we're Muslims.
I took my Shahada 15 years ago, and I actually am from a rural part of Ohio. And so I found the catalog for Sound Vision, and I ordered the tapes and the CDs and the books, and I used those, and especially for my little daughter, that's how we basically learned our Islam, and Islam entered our hearts through the wonderful works of Sound Vision.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, brother. I just want you to know that I love the Sound Vision website, that a lot of times when I'm looking for information, especially as it relates to homelessness, domestic violence, and women issues, I go to that website, and then I see what you've written, and then I copy and paste it, and spread the word, because the wisdom is there, so I can't do any better than what Sound Vision has already done.
Sound Vision is our survival guide. It is the organization that provides skills for Muslims how to survive and thrive in this community here in the U.S.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Anam, I'm in 11th grade, and I grew up with Adam's World, and what it taught me was unity, respect, and love for the Muslim Ummah.
Adam's World is the greatest show ever made. Take me to the Kaaba, man. I love that puppet.
Assalamu alaikum! Open up your eyes.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe, and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
Before we go to next question, I wonder if Dr. Sohail Mahmood has any insight about why Muslim vote more than doubled for President Trump, because social issues were there even before. Republican Party has always been conservative. Most Muslims are conservative on those issues. But this person has nothing positive to say about Muslims. How come they were so inclined to vote?
Well, the economy. Most of the reason is the economy, because Trump was before COVID struck. The economy was doing well, and if COVID had not happened, then the chances of the Republican victory was very high. But having said that, now for Trump is trying to open up the economy, and that maybe a lot of Muslims also feel that this is about time that there should be economic growth. But let me point out that these are internal debates that we have as Muslims. I am a Democrat, so I have Republican Muslim friends, and they point out to me all the time, and we have these debates. And of course, I acknowledge that they have a lot of weight in their argument. That how can you? They're asking me how they're Democrat Muslim. How can you support the Democrat Party when the Democrat Party is favoring the LGBT guys and all the gay movement and the feminist movement, and for all leftist atheist people who have got nothing to do with religion? How can a Muslim who believes in Sharia, who believes that gay behavior is wrong, LGBT behavior is wrong, how can you support the Democrat Party? So there are people who support the Republican Party because the Republican Party is conservative on these social issues. So this is an internal debate. We have it all the time. That they actually, the point that I'm making is that they argue, our Republican Muslim friends argue that a good Muslim cannot support left-leaning LGBT, gays, abortion.
You made that point. So let's talk about violence a little bit. There was a lot of risk, and people were worried about there going to be violence and things like that. And it seems, by and large, election, although there were reports of election intimidation, voters intimidation, and all that, by and large, elections were without violence. But rhetoric has been dangerously very high. And Trump keeps saying that there were fraud and all that. And Steve Bannon, is a powerful person. He came up with that he needs to, suggesting that Dr. Fauci need to be beheaded and all that. And no action was taken. Is it, Edward, you being a lawyer, I don't know if you still practice, but is it legally okay for somebody to threaten to kill somebody?
The short answer is no, absolutely not. That would not fall within the bounds of free speech. Now, in terms of political rhetoric and comments that are clearly not to be taken seriously, those things probably aren't prosecutable, or at least no prosecutor really take the time to go after those kind of statements that are clearly not meant to be a direct and specific threat. The key thing in most states for a threat to be prosecutable is that it causes fear in the victim. That is, the victim believes that it causes fear. They believe they're going to be harmed. So, for example, if your wife gets mad at you and says, "Oh, I'm going to kill you. I can't believe you left the toilet seat up again," are the police going to arrest your spouse for that? No, because you're not afraid. You didn't take it. Well, I don't know. Hopefully, you didn't take it seriously. I don't know what your marriage is like, but chances are, no, you didn't take that seriously. You weren't actually afraid of that sort of comment. So that would not be something that would be prosecutable. On the other hand, if someone gets mad at you, you're arguing with you, and all of a sudden they say, I'm so mad at you, I'm going to kill you, and whether or not they mean it or not, you feel a fear in your heart. It makes you afraid of being harmed. Then at that point, it could become actionable by the police. So in terms of the remark that Steve Bannon made about encouraging President Trump to decapitate Anthony Fauci, which is disgusting and disturbing. Does it violate any criminal law? I suspect there's a fair argument that it does in some states. I'm not sure where he was when he said it. And it just shows you, I mean, more broadly, I mean, it's just a sign of how frightening fascism is. This notion that you have to agree with one side of the political aisle or you deserve to not only die, but to be killed in a horrific way and then used as a prop to scare others from speaking up. It just shows you the ideology of Breitbart, of Steve Bannon and people like him. What we were warning about for years was the end result of what these people would want. Now, did he really mean it? I don't know if he really meant it seriously, but the mere fact that he would say that out loud, tells you something about the ideology that is motivating so many of the people who are like Steve Bannon.
Dr. Mahmood, do you think, people were buying guns for a while? Before election, actually, somebody, my car mechanic, who himself and his mother and his sister, all of them have legal licenses to conceal and carry. And he was saying that ammunition is no longer available to practice because people have been buying it off the shelf. Then I looked up the news. That is correct. I mean, there are several gun stores are limiting how much they will sell you in a particular week because the supply is limited and all those things. So is this rhetoric which is there and the militias and all of that? Do you think while at election time none of these things happen, are you afraid that violence may still happen?
No, I don't think so. Well, there was a election hype, and of course, people got emotional. I mean, on both sides. This was a very divisive elections, and things sort of rhetoric happens on both sides, But I really don't think that there would be violence on large scale violence. Remember, most of it is just rhetoric. Most of it is just politics, I mean, showing of weapons. Like remember in Minnesota, the Republican rednecks, they went to oust enter the chambers and the legislatures, But that is all showmanship, that's all politics, that's all rhetoric. But the biggest concern is, and this is a very big concern that we have, is that Trump is not going to give in. I mean, this is my understanding. I may be wrong. I pray I am wrong, But my understanding of that person is that, he is going to rally his base, his, right-wing, redneck, white supremacist base like you have never seen before. He's not going to admit defeat. He's not going to concede. And, his administration is already creating some problems for the transition. They are not cooperating, and this is day one. So, I mean, and he's going to challenge and, all that we've talked about that. My real concern is that he has a base. I mean, we have to repeat, it's worth repeating that 71 million people voted for the Republican Party. That is a very, very large number out of 145. I mean, Biden got only 75 million here. So this is a concern. And in the South, in areas where I come from, in North Carolina, redneck, and in the South, I mean, there's a lot of support for the Republican Party and the white supremacists and the rednecks. I mean, they are going to create some trouble, but not violence on a large scale. The reason is, you'll be very surprised that why violence did not happen is because of the media and because of technology, I mean, I've gone through all these areas, and I know what I'm talking about. Is that first of all, if you come out in the open and you are brandishing your AK-47 and your Kalashnikovs, and you're about to commit a crime, and you're going about running around, in your pickup. I mean, with your weapons and your rifles, you are bound to be caught by either the media or video camera. I mean, there are hundreds and millions of cameras, and someone is going to take a picture of you and is going to upload that picture on Twitter or Facebook, and the FBI will get hold of that picture, and the FBI is going to trace. So the point is that people who even want to come out and intimidate the Democrats, are afraid that they will be caught either by the police or by a camera and their picture. And it's not only that the police will be after them, their own boss. I mean,
Edward, one of the questions which I have is, I was looking at Wall Street journals. They have analyzed who donated to who. And I was surprised to see there seems to be a class shift which has taken place among donors. Most of the donors for President Trump were sort of blue-collar workers, and which are declared donation. Of course, there are bigger parties and those people who, companies and corporations and big shots putting their money in. But in terms of the people who directly donated to President Trump website, these are smaller number, poorer people, more blue collars, in some type of unions like that on his side. While President President-elect Biden has strange enough, corporations, employees of bigger corporations, Apple and Microsoft and banks, and among employees were federal employees, a lot of federal employees, in a larger number donated to President Biden. So it seems that middle class and richer people were more donating in person to Biden campaign than the Trump campaign. So do you expect any class shift? Because people are already saying that the rural voter and blue-collar workers, they were uneducated people or less educated people were on the Trump side. Just a minute, because we are about done with our time.
Yeah. So I'll just say briefly, so I look at it a bit differently. I think President-elect Biden's donors, many of them, I think the overwhelming majority were small donations, many of them from people who were various races, African-American, white, et cetera, including many blue-collar workers. And I think he also undoubtedly, as you noted, did get support from so-called elite walks of life, for example, to the tech world and other people who were more likely to be living in liberal places and be progressive, liberal politically. So I think he got a mix of all of that. I think President Trump also, though, did do something unique, which is to get a lot of support from so-called blue-collar workers as well. That's how he won last time in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, was making a lot of headway with his argument of economic populism and standing up to the Chinese government and their economy and all that. So President Trump did make a lot of headway with those voters, kind of white, blue-collar voters, partly based on the economy, partly based on populism, partly, I dare say, based on racial issues. And we can expect that support to continue to go with the Republican Party to some extent in the years to come.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Edward Mitchell, and thank you, Dr. Sohail Mahmood, for being with us on Muslim Network TV. And thank you, Sherdil Khan, our producer, and Dr. Abdul Wahid, our co-producer, to be with us and organizing this whole show. You have been watching, and thank you for watching Muslim Network TV. We're on Galaxy 19 satellite, as well as Apple TV, Fire TV, Roku, and our own website, muslimnetwork.tv. Peace and salam.